Often I'll take something like this, my Game Boy Advance SP, and I'll look at it and I'll remember all of the incredible gaming times I had with it. Sitting by myself in high school in racquetball courts with my friends sometimes, but not always. That's hence the by myself part. Playing this guy. Not this specific one. This was a gift from Morgan. And it elicits such a wonderful, beautiful memory. Even though it seems like it'd be a sad memory because I'm by myself in a racquetball court, I can assure you my memories were actually quite great. And now, in my mid 30s, I am 20 years past those moments. I'm looking back on these moments thinking, man, what incredible gaming times I had. And if only I could just relive those very moments again and have those extremely fun gaming experience with not the same friends, because those friends and I unfortunately are no longer close. Nothing wrong, just we, don't talk anymore. We're high school friends. But maybe, just maybe, they could remake some of my favorite games and I'd be able to play the very games that I did and have the exact fun that I had. And this, my friends, is the beautiful, wonderful lie that is nostalgia. And today, we are going to be talking about the nostalgia lie. And one of my favorite things that my wife has ever said to me when retelling a story, which was, my love, you're remembering that wrong. And so to you guys, I say, my friends, you're remembering that wrong. Today, I am cracking into nostalgia, and I'm here holding this game, Mega Man Battle Network, the Legacy Collection, which is every single one that they released. Beautiful combination of the very game that I used to play tirelessly in my early, mid, and at some point late teens. I really enjoyed the Battle Network series. I thought it was an interesting mechanic when it came to battling, and it was fun for me. I purchased this game, and upon booting it up, oh, by the way, Dragon Ball, if you're not reading Dragon, I never thought I was going to be a manga guy. I am loving every panel, and I can't stop. Sorry. I never thought that Nope, that's Dragon Ball. I'm needing this right now. I was not someone who was expecting to feel this way about games, nostalgia. I didn't think that the nostalgia lie was going to be something that I actually felt, right? And by lie, I mean the disappointment. I thought that for sure I was not going to be the person that picks up a game that is, the remake of a very favorite game of mine and then start playing it and being like, wait a second. Is it this good or bad? I need to add 1 more gram of coffee to this. That was the first thing I was going to do, is add a gram of coffee. Okay. We're fixing the recipe today. Going a little heavier. Okay, and now we're back at it. I started playing Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection on my Nintendo Switch. And it was fun. Henry? Cool it. Sorry. Oh, the tree's name's Henry. We have a very, very love-hate relationship. Henry fell on me this morning. He's drunk as all get out. Just fell right on me. I walked in the door. Henry, you gotta cool it, buddy. I got it. Okay, so Mega Man Battle Legacy. This has nothing to do with Mega Man Battle Network, by the way. It's just an example of how there's a game that exists that you're like, holy smokes. Let me give you a little story of this game. I used to go to Disneyland with my best friend Miles, whom of which we're still very close. He's one of my 2 friends that I've known since I was 11. My other one being Steven, who I often refer to as my brother because we have shared just about everything aside from women weird thing to say. But I have friends who've decided to date my exes. We have shared everything, including underwear, over these past 20 years of knowing each other, almost 25. And so he's often referred to as my brother. But Miles and I used to go to Disneyland because his parents would buy him and one friend a Disneyland pass, and I was that one friend. And we spent many weekends there running amok in California Adventure when it was first opened, and then also Disneyland and having fun there as well. Now, there was this one very specific memory I had of us at Disneyland's at California Adventure, and we were standing in line at the Incredicoaster, which is what it was called at the time. It was the Incredibles roller coaster. And we were there. Oh, no, it wasn't the Incredicoaster. It's now called the Incredicoaster. Now it's called, back then it was some fast, whatever. It was a fast one. And we were waiting to go, but there wasn't that many people in line. We ended up going on it almost 10 times in a row. But while we were waiting the first couple of times, we both had our Game Boys. He often played Pokemon. I was into Pokemon, but not as he was. He was obsessively into Pokemon. He would play it tirelessly. I would not. I was playing Mega Man Battle Network. I think it was probably the first one. Let's make sure that my temperature's up. We need to go up a little hotter. And I remember standing in line and playing that game, and that was such a fond memory of mine. I loved this game. I thought it was so spectacular. Also, playing it at my house, in the car, whatever it may be. And so, I got it again. And I was like, man, this is going to be an incredible experience. And it's not. It's not even close to the experience I had. Not because the game is boring or old or at all bad, or the remake is bad, or they ported just the game and it feels clunky and at 22. No, it's actually none of those things. It's relatively fun. It looks beautiful, and it is pretty spectacular when it comes to how they decided to port it. It looks great. It's not clunky at all. It runs well. But the game itself just doesn't hold the weight it did. And I'm wondering why. Advanced Wars Reboot 1 and 2, Reboot Camp 1 and 2. I was obsessed with that game. And I still think it's an incredible game, and I highly recommend it if you're into strat games. I like it a lot, and I pop in to play it around here or there. But when I say I was obsessed with that game, I played it every day, all day long. I loved that game. Loved it. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I was a huge Tactics fan, now come to think of it. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I have that game on my Game Boy SP, which was one that I played, again, tirelessly. I loved it. So fun. I have it. It's awesome. I don't play it. All of these games, especially now with Nintendo Switch dropping all these retro titles that we have learned to love through that system, and I say learn to love because it feels like they aren't dropping it the way that we all deserve, which is maybe a little bit more polish. New brew method, by the way, is a continuous pour and let it just drip out relatively quick. That's what we're doing here with the Kalita today. And so when it comes to nostalgia, this is the thing, the lie that I believe exists within nostalgia, because video game companies, Nintendo being guilty of it just as much as PlayStation and Xbox, remaking a game and being like, man, the connection to this game was pretty spectacular back in the day. Modern Warfare being one of quite questionable release as of late. And some other ones. We're coming up on Super Mario RPG, which is a game that I never completed but always wanted to and was enamored by back in the day when I played it on the Super Nintendo. But that was a time in my life where all that I knew was my den, my backyard, and cul-de-sac. There was no world around me. There was nothing. My world involved peanut butter and jelly, macaroni and cheese, and watching Star Wars on repeat when I wasn't at school making things out of Kinects. Like, the world was so small. There was no consequence for any decision, really, aside from maybe getting in trouble by my parents because I wasn't supposed to go outside or go to that one kid's house because their uncle is always there and he's weird and offers, kids ice cream in the middle of the day. I don't know. There was a kid on our block we weren't allowed to talk to. I really think that there is this feeling of nostalgia that we are attached to, that I'm attached to, very much so. I mean, for goodness sakes, I've spent well over hundreds of dollars on Zelda books of games that I played when I was a kid. And yes, Zelda is great. It is fun. I love Legend of Zelda. It's probably one of my favorites. I think it's second to Mario. But I can't lie to you right now. When I go back and try to play through Majora's Mask, there's just a little bit there that I'm like, this isn't quite like I remembered. When I play through Ocarina of Time, it's a little different because Ocarina of Time is a game that I've played over and over again for years, but I don't think that I experience necessarily this nostalgic effect. And this is the nostalgia that I'm talking about. The one where you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to be able to play this game on this console. My PlayStation 5, I'm going to play a remastered version of whatever game, right? Now, I think that's something that has been really cool and somewhat a good way of handling this idea of previous franchises is something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where they are taking a story that existed in a world that existed and making it much larger and the story a little bit more robust. Because that game is taking a 28, 32-hour game and making it into like a 150-hour game between multiple games. Like, that is a cool way of handling it. But with nostalgia specifically, I believe that the reason why we have this attachment to a specific title, such as Pokemon or Mega Man or Spyro, is because, sorry, as always, interrupted by my coffee. Henry, I'm sick of your hiccups. Henry's really, you're plastered, Henry. Henry, you're plastered. This is embarrassing. Oh, really? Sorry. He's talking about how his dog died. The plant's fake. Oh, it's a fake dog? My apologies. It's his imaginary dog. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. That makes sense. That makes sense. And because you're an imaginary plant, the dog would take after you in that sense. I totally get it. That's fine. My apologies. We'll let Henry mourn his imaginary dog. What was the dog's name, Henry? Bartholomew? All right. R.I.P. Bartholomew. At any rate, when remembering games and remembering these experiences, I think that there is a very, very specific time in our lives where this experience took place, and that time in our life is no longer able to be experienced. And I'll give you an example. I am wanting to play a game like this, or any game for that matter, but every time I choose to play a video game, it's at the expense of something else, whether it's work, family time, any sort of responsibilities I have. It's because I've chosen I'm going to play video games at this time, and it could be very appropriate. Like last night I streamed about an hour of Modern Warfare 1. Very fun experience for me. It was a little bit weird playing Modern Warfare 1 in the subject matter. Seems a little brutal given what is happening in the world right now, but we can't really escape that. So there was a moment where I was like, oh man, this is a little close to home. And I don't know if I'm going to fully enjoy this experience given some of the current events. But I can say that the game is not necessarily as, it's very, very, the word escapes me. When you're involved in something and it's immersive. It's very immersive, and the experience is, I wouldn't say, it's not like, oh, this is fun, because the subject matter is pretty brutal, but I will say that the experience is very good. It's a good experience. continuing on to nostalgia. I think that when it comes to this nostalgia thing, we might need to just take a step back and look at it at face value. I'm not going to sit here and drop a doozy on Super Mario RPG because it's a game that I'm looking forward to playing. But I'm trying to do my best to remove myself from any memory that I may have for multiple reasons. One, the memory I have of Super Mario RPG was, first off, emulated. Never owned the game. Emulated in the basement of an apartment complex that we lived in when we lived in Illinois. And it was dark and gloomy, and I felt like I was breaking rules, and it was very, very, wrong. I was emulating. Oh man, I'm playing a pirated game. That experience is absolutely not going to exist for me because one, emulation has become so much more of a common thing, and we don't have to worry so much about that feeling of like, ooh, this is naughty. And two, I'm purchasing the game for $60 gosh darn dollars. So the novelty that exists with playing a game that I probably shouldn't be playing because it's emulated no longer exists. The novelty that exists on playing a game like Super Mario RPG on my laptop in my bedroom, not on a TV, is no longer going to exist because I wanted to play Super Nintendo games portably, and I couldn't because the Super Nintendo was attached to a TV. And see, these kind of things, I think, are added to what we were talking about in Cup 6 and 7, which was this idea of like this false marketing that gets us, and then all of a sudden we have gamer fatigue. I believe nostalgia adds to gamer fatigue. I know, it sounds crazy. But it's like, dude, I cannot wait for this game to come out. And then you play like 2 hours of it, and you're like, something just doesn't feel right. And then you let it sit, and you want to come back to it, and you're like, I got to start it over, but I don't want to deal with that again. I didn't want to deal with it when I first started, and just it was probably why I stopped playing it. And I don't know what the remedy is. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, this is what you should do, because I don't have it. I'm just sitting here because you guys last night during the Modern Warfare 1 campaign, which you guys are so gracious, by the way, thank you. I had to wait 45 minutes to download an additional 40 gigs worth of stuff, which was ridiculous. This is a great cup of coffee. That's the recipe. Cool, next we gotta do this is just add milk and sugar to see if it tastes good with milk and sugar, the same recipe, and then we got this dialed in. Two brew methods in one coffee. Still rocking the Verve Rwanda. I don't have an answer for you. I don't have this is the practical way of approaching this. But maybe, just maybe, when it comes to playing some of these games that nostalgia exists, like Halo, right? Halo's a huge one. Oh man, those days when we used to stay up all night and play Halo, those days consisted of zero obligation to wake up early in the morning. And if there was, it was just to go to school, and you do not have to be awake for school. Let's be real. In high school, you'd be half asleep. Half of us were asleep in high school. We slept through first through third period. It didn't matter. In fact, that was part of the fun of going, is because you were half asleep because you stayed up all night playing video games. Now, if I stay up all night playing video games, there's hell to pay. I still have to take care of 2 kids. I have a full job to take care of. I have to get on camera. I got bags under my eyes for days. That's if I stay up all night and play video games. I don't get to work out and take care of my health. I don't eat really well when I do that because I'm just so hungry when I wake up. I eat whatever is available to me. And oftentimes it's lots of bread and cheese because my daughter likes to eat cheese and bread is already cooked. And so it's just not the same. Responsible gaming and nostalgia usually don't go together. And I am someone who practices responsible gaming. May not look that way financially. I don't have responsible spending habits when it comes to gaming. But who does nowadays? Come on. No, I'm just kidding. But I have talked at length about this topic with many people, and I think that nostalgia is an unfortunate thing that a lot of companies are capitalizing on. They're going, hey, We don't have anything interesting in the pipeline. Or maybe that's not the way that they look at it, but it certainly feels like that's the narrative. Now, we can't come up with anything new because everything new is done. What if we take this franchise that crushed it, say that we're going to remake it, give you trailers for 3 years, and then drop it? You'll pick it up, you'll play it, and realize, oh, I'm just playing a game I've already played. And that experience that you enjoyed, like, oh man, like if there's that question, like what game, if you could erase from your memory, would you play for the first time all over again? You will never experience that. Ever. It's not real. I hate to break it to you. You'll get close, but you'll never experience it. The closest I ever did to experiencing that very moment was when I had a Nintendo 3DS. I played Ocarina of Time on my Nintendo 3DS. And I loved every minute. I had a guide I was working off of to 100% it. It was a really fun experience. I think the completion of it, 100%, was actually the experience that really sold it to me. But in that moment, I felt like I was playing the same game I played when I was a kid. Now, it wasn't like, oh, I'm playing this for the first time again. What it was I'm getting the wonder and the splendor of the visuals that I was so completely blown away by, because the 3D effect I enjoyed. I didn't play it in 3D. I did enjoy it because it was giving me an experience that I couldn't believe I was experiencing. Back in the 90s, I couldn't believe I was experiencing that game. Holy smokes. This adventure in a 3-dimensional space, multiple items to manage. I can shoot a bow. I have this hook shot. I have these enemies that I have to manage in different ways by freezing with a Deku seed? Seed? No. Deku nut? I think. Whatever. And then breaking them with my sword. I have these Gorons that are, rolling around. I have bombs I got to throw in every which way that are impossible to manage, and this, that, and the other. It was spectacular. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. And now, when I played it again on the 3DS, I was like, holy smokes, it's a similar experience. I can't believe I'm playing this game in a 3-dimensional space, true 3D. It was like the awe and the splendor that existed for me in the 90s existed again on the 3DS because of the visuals. But at no time was I like, holy smokes, this is the first time, this is crazy. I'm in a volcano? What? No. And no game that you've already played will be able to do that again. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I don't think that we should be saddened by that at all. We certainly should be more in tune with the fact that marketing tactic, that feeling of grab your buddy, stay up all night, and let's play Halo, while in some ways could be fun as a novelty, I think that's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We figured it out. Let me take a sip of coffee and drop it. Nostalgia is truly misleading because it's not an experience that will continuously grant you gratification. Novelty is what you're experiencing. A moment in time in which you are in this elevated state of like, oh, this is awesome. But novelty wears off. Novelty wears off. And when novelty wears off, if you have proper expectations on what the rest of the experience will be, then you should still be able to enjoy a beautiful experience. But if your expectations are to maintain the very novelty that you're experiencing upon first hour or two of gaming, to fulfill that nostalgic feeling, which is just remembering a feeling. I forgot the exact definition of it, but it's supposed to be like an experience that is reminiscent of an experience you've experienced before, something along those lines. Then you are going to be sorely disappointed and sit there wondering, did they screw up? When in reality, it wasn't them who screwed up. It was you who had really, really fallen victim to marketing. I make this sound like it's all the marketing that is causing the problems, and you know what? It is. We need those wacky commercials again. Everyone go back and watch blockbuster video game commercials. Go back and watch Pokemon Snap commercial from the 90s. We need those again. That is what we need. That's how I'm going to do it. That's how I'm going to do all my marketing, by the way. All of my marketing is going to be this wacky, like, hey, cool it, dude. Dude, you see that? Henry the hedge. It's not really a hedge. It's supposed to be bamboo, I think. I don't know. Well, that's it for nostalgia. I'm looking at Battle Network right now, and I'm like, man, I kind of want to play it. We did it. We made it. That's the new recipe. Kalita Wave locked in. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my day. Thank you for joining me for Cup 9. If you enjoyed it, great. Hit the like button. If you want to be a part of the community, Discord. Discord, baby. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I take it back. None of the YouTuber stuff. Okay? Taking it back. Don't hit the like button. None of that. Simple as this. If you want to be a part of a gaming community, we have a Discord. We have lots of really cool conversations. Please join that. As far as the liking and subscribing and all that nonsense, it exists on this platform. Do with it as you please. Because I'm going to do this regardless of whether you like it and tell me about it or you subscribe. Because I believe that this is necessary in this space. And if I'm the only one talking about things this way, then I'll be the only one. I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel. I certainly don't believe I'm reinventing the wheel at all. I think that this is just a really good space for me to exist in. Nice and mellow, drinking coffee, getting over-caffeinated. And I hope one day that I'm going to be able to share a cup with you, Will Arnett. That's the goal, dude. I want to have cups. Eventually, I want these cups weekly. I want to have at least one person that I'm making a cup of coffee for, and that is the whole episode. They'll be much longer. I'll be making them a cup of coffee, bring me a cup of coffee, and then we'll be getting after it. I will always make a cup of coffee for my guest. I want to have guests. And I want them to be people in the video game space. I'm sure I'm going to have a couple friends on here too, but man, that would be so sick. Oh, if I could make a cup of coffee for Doug Bowser, dude, I'll bring all my equipment. I'll do it. I'll fly there. I'm getting amped up. I feel like Kramer. All right. Happy gaming.